there was not enough physical intimacy, but great sexual chemistry. So there wasn't cuddling afterwards. After you and I would have sex, I would leave and then go to another dude's house who I wasn't having sex with just to cuddle.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe at the time I thought I would like to find someone I could combine the two together. But now I kind of think that was part of why it worked so well. Today, we're here to talk about how to not get by your buddy. And it features my OG buddy,
Hey,
Jared Brady.
let's do it.
As the name states, which I got you that shirt, so I'm very happy to see you wearing it.
You did. It feels good too.
I was gonna make fun of it, but then I was like, you bought it for him, so slow your roll there. I was gonna say a boy would wear a shirt with his last name on it.
Yeah, that's true too.
It is true, yeah. But there we go. I still love you.
I know you guys are listening right now and you want to hear more about how to have sex and not get attached. But before we get into more about that, here's a message from our sponsor, Squarespace.
It's a new year and the perfect time to remind you that now is the time to bring your next big idea to life. And if you're gonna do it big, do it with the sponsor of this video, Squarespace.
Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful, powerful online presence today. So go to squarespace.com/shambooty to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Again, that's squarespace.com/shambooty to get 10% off.
The reason why I thought this topic would be very pertinent right now is because I was actually on a podcast talking about this.
Yeah.
And this is a theory that I have. Let me know if you agree or disagree. That because of the times that we're in right now, so the IFS had this study that said that 1 in 4 single women have not had one sexual partner in the past 2 years. Woo. So that's 25% of single people who are sexually active are deciding for the past couple of years, I'm not gonna be sexually active. I'm chilling.
Yeah.
Furthermore, I work with Bumble. I have access to their stats.
Yeah.
And they found that 53% of users were consciously single right now. Meaning they're like, I am very happy
with where I'm at right now.
I'm very happy about myself. I am very happy not having a romantic partner right now. I'm chilling. So when I put those two things together, I look at it like people, because of the pandemic, might still be figuring out their life. They might have moved to a new city or moved jobs or moved visions, whatever it is. There a lot of changes happen. And as a result, partnership is not like at the top of their mind. But I feel like we all have sexual needs.
Of course.
And so you might come a time where you're like, yeah, I can't like invest my time and energy in a romantic partner, but I could definitely make space on Tuesday at 11 p.m. for someone to come by for 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Get it on popping.
What do you think?
I'm for it, as long as both people are mutually agreeing to this, and like we all know what it is. It's gonna be a good time.
And that's the thing, is to make it a good time, I feel like you have to be strategic with it.
Right.
Because you're basically recreationally engaging in something very addictive.
Yeah.
And that can be hard to do.
Yes.
But I think that in the past, I have done it successfully. I know that with you, I'm not even gonna say that, because to be honest with you, this is where I kind of get caught up in my expertise on this, my anecdotal expertise, right? That you were my first very successful fuck buddy.
Right, but what's your metric? Yeah, I was gonna say, what's your metric? Because
I've had others in the past.
But what if we didn't full on get into a relationship?
I don't gauge our success on our progress.
Okay.
I gauge our success on how pleasurable and reciprocal and mutual that time period was. And that's what I'm trying to give to other people, a pathway or a formula or some suggestions. The comment section will also maybe have other people chime in. What do you do to ensure that these compartmentalized relationships stay in their lane?
Hey, the F-boy playbook. Just kidding.
Step 1.
Step 1.
Selecting the right buddy.
That's tough. It's tough only because I find that there's two things that come into the tiers of the toughness. One, finding somebody who's going to respect that honesty and not think that you're just a wild boy. And so when I come into a new situation and I'm like, hey, I would love to just be fucking around. And then most of the time, what I would think the response would be like, no, I'm not even gonna do that. Because there's society pressures on the man and there's society pressures on the woman. the woman's side, it's like you don't respect yourself if you're open to this, and on the men's side, it's just you're just a fucking player if you want this and you have issues. But finding that balance of like being honest without being judged and vice versa.
That to me is the magic of any relationship, though.
Yeah.
That there's billions of people on this planet, and that you can find somebody who you're like, I gel with you. We're in the same place in life, you know. We're attracted to each other. We have the same values. We have the same long-term goals. Our lifestyles are at least cooperative. They don't have to be identical, but at least they kind of work together. We flow. That's the whole point. If you're honest, yeah, it can be hard to find, but that's what you're looking for.
You're not setting someone up.
Here's where it was difficult for me.
Okay.
Because I mentioned this to you many times before, that I was very intentional about looking for a fuck buddy. I think that's actually very helpful too. I think when you get into a place where you're clear, which is why I'm speaking to the people who are consciously single and who are saying, I know I don't want a relationship. Because if you kind of want a relationship, it's almost as if you're like, oh man, I really need a CEO, but I'm gonna hire a janitor for now.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't really need a janitor, but I knew I just needed a janitor. I needed a cleanup crew.
Yeah.
That I was not in a position. My immigration was on the fritz.
Hey.
I was just coming out of a not so great relationship. I had a lot of healing to do. I couldn't work legally at the time.
Yeah.
I was not in a position to build with somebody, but I did want physical pleasure. It was hard for me to find that compatible person though.
Do you think, and this is just a question, do you think that we had a successful F-buddy relationship because you didn't see me as a potential mate?
Yeah.
So is there something that maybe the other person has to have, like some qualities that you know are not in your realm? Yeah, it's kind of like, because I think about it, like if you thought somebody was great and you're having great sex, would it be hard to, you know, not want more?
Yeah, I think everybody, I say this, I was auditioning people for the role of buddy. And my auditioning process was just like, have somebody over, vibe with them, make out, receive pleasure. I had a cutoff point, which I was very clear about in terms of like where I was willing to reciprocate. I would always let friends know that I had somebody coming over. I'd always create a space of accountability. There is danger in doing that, so people should be aware of that, because I was always bringing people into my space.
Yeah.
I never went to somebody else's space, but yeah, I was kind of doing this sort of, okay, let's just see if I feel like there's something there. And I can't even think of anybody who I saw like potential in for more. It was mostly that I didn't feel we had the sexual chemistry.
Or just other people?
Other people. With you, I had felt the sexual chemistry. I did not feel...
Yeah, the other compatibility.
Yeah, I did not
So I think that
feel-
plays a role into it. So step one, be a fuck up. and you'll be able to work. No, I'm just kidding. No, but choosing the right person is a real deal. I think you have to also know and gauge that other person, like, can they handle this? And really ask that person to have honest dialogue with that.
When I met you, were you consciously looking for a consistent sexual partner?
I don't think I consciously was looking for that. I think my lifestyle was looking for that. And I think that even prior to you, like, I had one-sided successful friends with benefits, because there would always come a point where either they wanted more or I wanted more. But I think a lot of that had to do with I was very self-aware of where I was at in life. So when I started, like, you know, when you and I started being friends with benefits, I knew that I wasn't a potential candidate. So I didn't even like put you in the category in my head of like, I have a chance with this woman. It was like, no, take what you can get, bro. Be grateful, do good at your work, and go home, you know? And if something arises out of that, then that's cool. But I think that helped me in that transfer, was like knowing that I got some work to do. And I'm not fit for a relationship right now. And so when we actually got to start actually messing around, I think that helped me manage my expectations.
Mm-hmm. Step 2. So you found somebody who you have great sexual chemistry with, pretty much ends there. Sexually attracted to as well. Step 2 is what?
Setting up some boundaries to really know that, hey, these are my triggers that make me get into relationship envy or relationship mode. And so for me, it was, I never slept over. There wasn't like crazy in-depth conversations about life and things that would connect us on an emotional level. And we really focused heavily on what is the sexual compatibility part, I think, for me.
Yeah, no, I remember we talked very early on about our sexual fantasies. Like, we came together in essence, like, how do we have the best sex possible?
Yeah.
But we didn't talk about how do we be great partners for each other or even good friends for each other.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that element of things. I had some firsts with you very early on, but I think again, because we were so intentional about, like, we're here to have really good sex together. The boundaries thing was huge. And I actually had the aha and the idea for this episode because I was on another podcast and I was talking about, you know, my desire to constantly assess if people are serving me or not, and that like kind of cut off backdoor, you can always leave mentality I used to have. And the person was like, oh, yeah, I guess you didn't have that with Jared at all, even when you were fuck buddies. I was like, no, I majorly had it when we were fuck buddies. I was always like, was that a good time? Is he getting better? Am I enjoying myself? And I hit a place in our connection where there was not enough physical intimacy, but great sexual chemistry. So there wasn't cuddling afterwards. So I'd mentioned to him, after you and I would have sex, I would leave and then go to another dude's house who I wasn't having sex with just to cuddle.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe at the time I thought I would like to find someone I could combine the two together. But now I kind of think that was part of why it worked so well.
The thing that drawed us together was the sexual compatibility. And then if you start adding other blocks to that, is where things get sticky.
Here's the thing, oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone, actually releases in its highest amount, not in orgasm or during sex, but in post-sex cuddling. So by avoiding that with you, and by taking that and cuddling with somebody else, I wasn't forming, you know, other attachments to them. So it was a way for me to like compartmentalize the two in a way that might have been difficult if I tried to combine them. Step 3,
Hey,
don't read into things.
that's hard to do.
You've had that response to every step.
This is hard. I think we got lucky.
I don't think I got lucky. I think I was very intentional and very mindful, and I was lucky to find somebody who was in the same space. And the reason that's not even luck to me, because the reason I chose you as a sexual partner is because you were curious and open-minded.
Yeah.
And as I always tell the story, I knew you were going to be my fuck buddy because when I looked down at you when we were first fooling around, you had the look of like a painter on your face or like a conductor. Like you were completely in tune, like listening. Like you weren't thinking, what's the next 5 things? I was so used to being with men in particular who are like, what's the next step I'm supposed to do? What's the next face I'm supposed to make? What's the next sound I'm supposed to say? Like it was all very predictable.
Yeah.
But with you, I was like, no, he's truly authentically present in the moment and responding to things as they are. And I really liked that. And I think that actually is reflective of how you were in the relationship and how you still are to this day. But overall, I think, again, going back to this podcast it was on, it was like, well, you obviously have to care about your fuck buddy a little bit if you're going to be a good fuck buddy because you want them to get pleasure. So that's an indicator that you actually have feelings for that person.
Oof, that's where people fall into the trap, because what people don't really realize is that sex is an ego boost. And a lot of times, especially in the F-boy relationship, F-boy, I keep saying that. That's not what I mean. In an F-buddy relationship, that person is coming into the relationship selfishly at some point. They really only want this out of somebody, and that's where it's at. I know for me, when I entered the relationship and I really wanted to be good in bed, I was coming in wanting your pleasure to be a priority, but not because I really wanted your pleasure to be the priority. It was because I wanted to feel good about myself. I also wanted to learn something. And I wanted to just take in all the information that I could and please you to please my ego, unfortunately. I guess and the good thing is that you get pleasure as well.
Yeah.
You know, but if you read into that, you might be thinking, oh, all these other guys are just in it for themselves, and then this one guy takes really care about what I'm reacting to, and he's focused on that. He must care about me because he cares about my pleasure. But if you dive under that and go a little deeper, he really cares about his ego.
Yeah. I think the same thing from my perspective was, it wasn't so much that I cared about you, but I cared about proving to myself that I could be a good sexual partner. And I talked about this on my episode with Cray, how it's important to note that if you're not in practice of doing something, you're not going to be able to kill it when your time to perform really matters. So if you're being a lackadaisical, selfish partner, when you meet the person who you actually want to impress because you want to further the intimacy and you want them to know that you care, if you only ever looked out for yourself in the bedroom, you're not going to magically know how to be in tune with somebody else. So it's about taking the skills that you want for when you're in the big leagues and doing that in the practice gym. So you were my practice gym. And so I wanted to be really, really good. Again, not because like I foresaw that we would be where we are today, but because I was like, well, shit, I'm here anyways. I might as well be as great as I possibly can be. Final step. So you've now had a successful fuck buddy relationship. Round of applause. It's worked out. You guys have great sex. You're prioritizing communication around what you like, what you don't like. You're challenging yourself to get better. You're learning through that person. You're not letting your ego take over. And as furthermore, your emotions aren't taking over. And it's making it a good time. It shouldn't be hard to assess whether or not you have a successful fuck buddy relationship, because you should just ask yourself, do I feel good when I'm around this person and when I'm not around them? If the answer is yes to both, it's great. That's like I was talking to Cray and he was like, when people are around me, they love it. I'm like, yeah, but when they're not, they hate it. So it's not a successful relationship. It kind of has to be like all around. When I'm not with you, I reflect and I'm like, that makes me happy. And when I'm with you, I feel happy. And then if I don't, this is so compartmentalized and small, it's very easy to find somebody else to just swap out. My criteria is not so vast where it's like, to find another you at this point would be damn near impossible. But to find a Jared Brady when I first met you at the time, I could have found somebody else I had sexual compatibility with, for sure. So there was a swap out mentality there that happened. But what if you're in a place where it feels logical to further the intimacy?
I think it's just the same foundations that you guys came together with the honesty should be there as well. I think a lot of times, kind of going back to your first point or the 3 points ago about not reading into something, what people do is they think of it from their perspective. So if I came and watered your plants, some might deem that as you're furthering the intimacy now. And now you want more than just an F-buddy relationship. And so just being upfront with what you're feeling and how you're feeling is the best way to go, because then you can know like, all right, I can let myself fall into this because we're on the same page. Or if the person's like, no, actually, I water your plants, but that's it. We're not moving forward in any other way. I like where we are now. And that's where you can go, okay, let me assess this. Should I continue this? Because now I kind of am in a space where I want somebody more.
I think that normalizing this as a healthy style of relating to somebody is a positive thing. I think that early on in my sex educator career, I was very negative about them. And I didn't think that they were possible. I definitely didn't think they were favorable, especially for women. But that's because all of my previous fuck buddy relationships and ones that I often heard about so often where people wanted something from somebody, they weren't getting it. For some reason, they had sex with that person. Maybe they didn't even totally want to. Not to say that it was, non-consensual, but they fell into a sexual relationship with that person and was like, we might as well just keep doing this because I already did it. But the sex wasn't great, and they left feeling like less because they were getting less than what they actually wanted from that person to begin with. So for that reason, I was like, these are not positive. But now, based on the experience I had with you, and based on talking to people who've had more positive experiences, and then just reading more about the psychology of attachment and evolutionary psychology and why we attach to people and commitment structures, I'm like, it is very, very possible. But like you've mentioned all throughout, it is difficult. And difficult's not the right word, because it makes it sound as if the relationship itself is hard. The work you have to put in terms of putting the parameters up, finding the right person, and then checking yourself. That can be hard work, but it can also be super, super enjoyable and enriching.
And I'm struggling to come up with an analogy, but it's kind of like when we went to that show at Universal Waterworld. There's a lot of pyro and fire and jumping into water and doing some dangerous stunts. And on the outside looking in, you're like, an average person probably can't do these stunts. And they probably burn themselves to death or they fall, but they know exactly their marks. They know where to go. And so if they know that there's an explosion happening over here, I have to be X amount of feet away to know that I'm not gonna get burnt. You'll feel the heat, but you're not gonna get burnt. And so it's just as long as you're going into the relationship with that, knowing your boundaries and knowing where you need to stand so you don't get hit by that fire, you'll be good.
Are you smiling because you feel like you stuck the landing on this analogy?
No, I'm just...
You really put your foot in that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Hey.
I think we should end there.
Okay.
I'll give you the last word.
All right. Deal. You look great today, dude.
Baby, is that a compliment from you?
It's a compliment.
Thank you.
You're beautiful.
Thank you. So it's 2022 and we are thrilled to continue our partnership with Squarespace, a service that we've been using for the past 4 years. So I used it to build my website, I used it to build my book website, and recently Lauren used it to build her website.
Squarespace is user-friendly, even for me who's not a coder. I find it really easy to customize. You have a beautiful template selection. You have blogging tools and amazing in-depth analytics. And if you have a mailing list, look into switching over to Squarespace because it is way more cost efficient and has more modern templates than other mailing list providers.
Go to squarespace.com/shambooty to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain.
Again, that is squarespace.com/shambooty to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain.
Breaking the back, breaking the bed, head I kill for that. To get you wet.